Hi, my name is Lauren. Welcome to Orange Class. We're going to head over to the large carpet area at the front of the classroom where most of our whole group instruction takes place in Orange Class. One of the main things that we do here at the carpet is morning circle at the beginning of our day. So these bulletin boards are designed with morning circle in mind. We have all the different various components and visuals that I need to reference for morning circle. Like our schedule, we review the schedule with the kids every day at morning circle, so we have that here. We have the visuals for our expectations and rules at morning circle, and just different visuals here that I can reference throughout morning circle. Like when we pick the helper, we go over the different objectives of the day, so I have those posted here. We also have spots that we can use for our calendar time during morning circle. And then there are a couple other things here, such as our zones of regulation visuals and different tools that we can use during that time of the day. I have a drawer system here with different teacher materials that I can easily access as I'm teaching the whole group instruction. Different things like pointers and the numbers for the calendar are stored here. And we also have different seating options for each student. So we look at each student's needs and determine what type of chair that will best benefit them. For example, we have different wiggle seats like this or ball chairs that can help students who need more sensory input during the instruction times. We also can seat different students closer to the board or at midline if they need that for different vision purposes. And there are other things that we do at the carpet for whole group time, such as therapy groups and other large instruction times like literacy and math and things like that. So this is a great space for us to be able to use when we need all of the students in one place to learn. Okay, now we're going to talk about centers, and centers is a time of our day where our students are broken into 3 different groups and they rotate between 3 different centers. We have red center, yellow center, and blue center. Each center works on a different skill for the students. We'll start with red center. So red center happens here at the carpet, just like our whole group instruction times like morning circle, but for centers time, it looks a little different. We'll usually only have about 4 chairs here for the small group of students that is at Red Center at that time. In Red Center, they'll be working on a literacy or a math activity that is structured to meet the students' needs. So this is an example of an activity that you might see at Red Center. The teacher would be leading this station, and then we have our 2 assistants leading our other 2 stations, which we'll show you next. We have Yellow Center over here at this small group table. There are 4 different spots, and we have tape on the table to break up the different areas to give students a visual of the space that they can work in. At Yellow Center, they are working on fine motor activities and skills related to that, such as visual motor planning and things like that. So I have this bucket with an example of an activity that you might see at Yellow Center, like shaving cream on the table, tracing different letters and things like that. So all the supplies that they would need for that activity are right there. And then we also have Blue Center. Again, you'll see this visual like we have at all of the other centers. It has Velcro on it because some students they would benefit from having a visual schedule to help lead them through the different centers. So this helps them with that routine and can be a landing strip for different visuals. But here at Blue Center, they work on different sensory exploration activities. So an associate would be leading this. Right now we have a dinosaur dig activity ready for them as an example of something you might see at Blue Center. But the really great thing about centers is it can be adapted to meet the needs of all your different students. The activities can be adapted, but also the way that you lead them through these activities as well can be modified. And it's great to keep in mind different areas of the classroom that you can break up for centers when designing your classroom. So when designing your classroom, especially when you're working with limited space, it can be helpful to think about what areas can be used for multiple purposes. So for example, this table would have been used for Blue Center during centers time, but we also use these tables for 2 other main purposes, and that would be meal times and other tabletop activities like crafts. So we use this for meal times at snack and lunch. Each student has a spot at the table And we're really purposeful about how we place the students at each spot at the table. So each student might need a different height of table. You'll see we have some of our smaller students at this table, taller students at this one. And then, for example, this child has a tray on her chair when she eats, so it's nice to have her at this rounded spot where the tray can fit nicely with enough room in the back for people to pass by. She also requires teacher assistance when feeding, so it's nice to have that available for a teacher to sit here with her, but also be able to access different things right here easily. So those are some kind of examples of things you might keep in mind when placing students at different spots at the table. We also have different cubbies right here for each student to have their mealtime supports. Things like cups or allergy-friendly materials, things that are specific to each student that we need to be able to easily access at snack or lunch. We also have various cabinets here with snacks and utensils, washcloths. They're all labeled nicely so each teacher or volunteer can know what's in each one and be able to grab it easily for each student during those meal times. And we have different systems here, like a bin for dirty rags and things like that. Just everything right here in one place, organized and ready for each activity that happens at this table. Okay, so another area of the classroom that we're going to look at is our independent play area. Over here we have set up a space for the students to play, and a couple of things that we kept in mind when setting up this space is having clear boundaries for the students to visualize what areas are set up for them to play and what areas are set up for learning. We also keep in mind having enough space for students' equipment to fit through, so wheelchairs and walkers and things like that, making sure there's plenty of space in the different pathways for them to get in and out. So you'll see lots of different options for them here to play with. We have dress up in that closet, different building tools and animals on these shelves. We also have some shelves right here where there's toys, and a table here to encourage some pretend play and dramatic play, like things like that. When you're setting up play areas, it can be nice to keep in mind what is in closed cabinets like that and what's out in the open. Also tubs and bins and things like that for students to put toys back into. And those can be labeled and help them organize when they're cleaning up and things like that. So there's lots of different things that you can keep in mind with free play areas in the classroom. We have decided to also structure a different side of this area as more of a quiet space. So this can help students regulate their bodies and just have space to calm down and do different activities that are less stimulating than maybe they would be getting over in the free play area. So we have our library area where students can come read. We have some blankets in here and pillows. We have our calm down space. So this is a tool that we can guide students to when they are feeling big emotions and we're talking through the zones of regulation and things like that. Having a soft space for them to calm down can be really helpful. We also have a bean bag here that students can use to get some energy out or just relax. We also have this sensory path that we placed on the floor. And it has different movements inspired by different animals to help the students regulate their bodies again and get different movements proactively throughout the day so that they are able and ready to learn when it's time for instruction. The other important thing about this space and why there's just things on the floor instead of furniture is we have a spot for a swing. So there are things like that that are important to keep in mind when designing your space, because if there's furniture right here, we wouldn't be able to utilize this hook for a swing, but with the sensory path underneath, there's plenty of space for the swing to come out when we need that. So this quiet time space has various opportunities for the students to regulate themselves throughout the day, but if there are any tools that we know that a student is using a lot throughout the day that's specific to them, we have these bins above their cubbies over here that we can store any materials, including those tools that are specific to each of the students. So we might have fidgets or different adaptive materials in here that they use often. We could use different learning activities from these bins when we pull kids one-on-one. We can also store things like changes of clothes in here. So these are really helpful to just have one spot for anything that's specific to a student to live in these bins. We also have these slots that we use to store materials that we're going to send home. So any work that we're sending home or flyers for parents and things like that. Each student has a hook in their cubby for a backpack and a lunchbox or jackets and things like that. In the morning they come in and load their backpacks and lunch, and there's plenty of space for them to store their personal items in these cubbies. We also have a storage space in our bathroom for any personal items that may need to go in there. We use the bathroom routinely twice a day at snack and lunch. That time is set aside for students to have an opportunity to go to the restroom, but it's really convenient to have the bathroom in the classroom like we do here. So in terms of teacher storage, we have these shelves over here that are a little higher up that we can access for different lesson materials and things that we need to use throughout the day to support the students. So the storage bins are organized into different categories. Right here we have Monday through Thursday bins for the different lesson material activities that we can have these ready to go at the beginning of each week. So on that day, we can just pull the bin and be ready for the various lessons that we're doing that day. We also have materials up here that target different curriculum objectives and instructional materials like that. In this middle section, I have a blue, red, and yellow color-coded bin system for centers. So each of the materials for the centers are ready to go in these bins for the teacher to grab when it's centers time. So yellow center activities would all be ready to go in here. I also have a kind of grab and go station right here. So I use this to store different behavior materials and supports that we access a lot throughout the day that is just nice to have in an easily accessible location. I also have another bin that I use for just miscellaneous items that I can quickly put in throughout the day. Instead of cluttering the counters, I can just have it all go in here throughout the day, and then at the end of the day, redistribute the items as needed. And then we also have some behavior supports right here, like timers and visuals and different schedules and things like that we can pull if we need to help a student with that. And then we have our one-on-one goal time instructional materials in these bins, along with some binders for data collection and clipboards and things like that we can use to track data and make sure that we're on track with the different objectives that we're targeting. Right here on the counter, we have a spot for us to charge and keep together all of our iPads and communication devices. This is strategically next to a large charging strip for the plugins. And then we also have these cabinets and drawers right here that have different teacher materials like batteries and office supplies, and these are locked so that students are not able to access those. And then right here we have a separate organizational system all related to our zones of regulation curriculum. So the visuals are down here, and in the bins above we have all the related materials that we need to implement this curriculum with the students. Every classroom is going to be different based on the students you have and the layout of your room, but I hope it was helpful learning the reasoning behind why some of the decisions were made here. So thank you so much for joining us in Orange Class.